I can show you in the case of aluminium, cobalt, chromium, iron, and nickel in two different crystal structures. You can see that the energy of the configuration starts to go down. So the mean energy and associated the deviation in the energy starts to go down. So as we sample, so each of these cycle basically. So if we go back again over here, each of these cycle, the parents becomes children, then children again become parents, and so on. They generate. I mean, again, this process goes on for a few generations. So basically, this cycle is being GA cycle or genetic algorithm cycle. One cycle is called one generation. Okay, so this is what we are doing. But as you are moving across, the number of generation increase, the mean configuration energy of the system goes down, and you have to stop somewhere, and we have to decide about it, and I will talk about it later. But the thing which I want to appreciate you over here is that how this energy landscape basically changes. So this is I'm representing for cobalt, chromium, iron, nickel, and also for all of these cases we have seen that they show this similar kind of behavior during the sampling. That the energy landscape basically from the Gaussian to as you are moving to towards the end of the genetic algorithm, it basically starts to move closer and closer towards some kind of exponential decay in the energy landscape. So this is something which we see in each and every case. And the insert basically just show the front view of that. It's nothing different. Okay. So the criteria which I wanted to discuss that how ultimately we decide that we should stop the cycle. We stop the cycle when we realize that number of the number of states, energy states which we are getting through this, as you are going towards the lower and lower energy state, gradually you would not find anything new happening, and that is basically exhibited in term of number of different states which the system have after each cycle. As you can see, if we start with something 30-40 different state in 100 energy parents which we starting with, gradually it boils down to, as we go towards say 84 to 85 generation, both the body center cubic crystal structure and the face center cubic crystal structure associated with a particular aggregate of atoms basically goes towards one. So there is no change. So we can stop it somewhere here. So that is how we have decided about the stopping criteria associated with the genetic algorithm. Now, before I go over here, I will go back to the something which we are writing. Let's come over here. As you can see over here, that these energy states you have determined out from the genetic algorithm based sampling scheme, and then you can basically from these energy states, one of the parameters which again this is something of a crash course of a statistical mechanics, that if you know the energy states, if you calculate the say the exponential of say ith state I'm talking about by the Boltzmann constant and temperature in the let me write it so that you, so this is basically the energy associated with the ith configuration and this is your Boltzmann's constant and this is the temperature in, of course this is a Boltzmann constant when these energy values are in a per atom basis. So these are per atom energy values. Always remember, whatever number of configuration we are calculating, we are dividing it with the number of atoms. So if you calculate it for every case and if you add them together, so there is a summation. So I is equal to 1. So then n is a number of configuration which you have basically sampled in a genetic algorithm part, and then you can basically calculate a parameter which is called Z or it is also called something called partition function. So if there are some people from say chemical engineering, chemistry, even physics, they have a course, I mean dedicated course on statistical mechanics. And these people know about it this part, because this partition function depends on a lot of. I mean, I'm just writing an expression for a type of ensemble, which is the way you are setting up your system. I'm not getting into the detail of what those are. But the point is, I mean, this is one way you write the partition function, and this partition function is a very important, I mean, uh, parameter for determining uh, uh, the thermodynamic properties. Because using this partition function, you can calculate, say, first of all, you can calculate the Helmholtz free energy. So it's a natural log of z. Okay, so you can calculate the partition, I mean, Helmholtz free energy, and you know that the Gibbs free energy is F plus PV, which is the pressure and the volume associated with the supercell. So you can also basically, generally for the condensed system, this term can be neglected, and generally you can calculate the Gibbs free energy by this partition function. Similarly, you can calculate the enthalpy by these schemes. So it can be exponential. Okay, let me write it clearly so that. So again, this h in the denominator remains the partition function, and simply pi exponential Okay. Please check if some of you are looking. I mean, I do not remember on top of my head that whether this sign is there or not, but please check this particular sign. Okay, and from this, you can also calculate the. I mean, some people can calculate the entropy out. You remember that this minus Ts basically is G. So you can basically calculate the S to be H minus G by T. I mean, this can be one of the way. Okay. But can you do something more interesting? I mean, these parameters are well known, and it can be calculated. And remember, what was our aim? Our aim was to basically calculate the, to talk about the phase selection. And this is an interesting part. Now, we are talking about something called the probability associated with each microstate. I remember I have not talked about what is microstate. So each of these configurations when you're talking about, so each of these configurations basically represents these are one of the possibilities. So if you're I mean, when you're looking at a material, ultimately you have a material. In reality, it's not happening. But the way nature ultimately exhibits itself to us, what we see the net effects of all the various things which are happening. I mean, we are discussing about this in the context of multi-scale modeling, but again, coming back to this, that what is the energy associated with a random alloy? I mean, you generally tend to have one value, but those that might be the one value which you are seeing is ultimately coming from the lot of possibilities which the system might be having. And this is what lies in the core of this whole statistical mechanics, because they think in terms of these possibilities, and then can you, using these possibilities, you can predict the reality. Okay, so this is what I'm mentioning, that each of these energy values basically represents a microstate. And all of these microstate basically forms a macrostate. I mean, for the sake of understanding, I mean, let's consider this microstate to be one of the possibilities the system. And what is going to be the probability associated with each of these microstates? Now that we can calculate, so the probability of the ith state can be calculated out from this expression. And of course, in the bottom you have the I mean, in the bottom you have this partition function. Okay, so you can calculate, and if you see the probabilities, and if you can start looking into, if you calculate the probability associated with each state, what if you calculate this parameter, which is, let me write it in a red so that it's clear, minus EI ln. In a way, this is also an expression for the entropy, which was first used by Claude Shannon in the context of, I mean, yesterday someone was talking about this signal transmission. So all the information age we talk about, Claude Shannon is a person who is known to be the father of this information age, because he basically came up with a basic framework. Maybe the electronics people and the people in other branches know about it later. But one of the things, this concept of entropy, where they are thinking in terms of whether the information, when it is passing from source to destination, what is the probability that it might be reaching, and in that context they started to use this expression of entropy. Of course, in the context of material science, we multiply this with the Boltzmann constant, and we hope that this parameter basically will be the thermodynamic entropy. But to do that, you need to ensure a lot of different things, and we don't have time to get into the detail of that. But for this part, we are just exploring this particular variation of this particular parameter. Okay, PIL. So this is what we are showing you over here, that so there's 4 or 5 different cases. So this cobalt, chromium, iron, nickel uh, in its body center cubic and a face center cubic form. Again, as I mentioned about this aluminium, cobalt, chromium, iron, and nickel, in this case it's just the half of the equiatomic composition. And of course, you are adding the titanium. So the atomic, I mean, simple atomic radius associated, I mean, associated with these 2 atoms are more or less equal. So if we just put it together, and we can see what effects ultimately it does to this entropy parameter. Now over here you can simply look that as we are running, I mean, as we are sampling more and more generation, of course this entropy should increase, because more and more number of states are now being introduced over there. And as we are reaching the degeneracy of one, we are stopping our genetic algorithm cycle and using that energy landscape to determine the entropy parameter. And you can see that in this case, the face center cubic form have got the higher entropy. In the this particular case, when all aluminium, cobalt, chromium, iron, nickel are in the equiatomic composition, we see that it is the BCC form which have a higher entropy. Can you see there's a difference? That in this case, there was a face center cubic form has a higher entropy. In this case, it's a body center cubic form, just by changing the composition. So keep that tetrahedron clear in your mind, and then thinking about that, what are the various process parameter we are playing around over here. So we are just changing the composition, and you can see that the parameter, one of the parameter, is basically changing. Similarly, in the context of this 4-component cobalt chromium iron nickel case, we saw that at the room temperature, the phase center cubic form of higher configuration entropy, and just by changing the titanium with the aluminium over here, we find that the phase center cubic form have the higher. Now, what these predictions mean, that now we are talking about thinking in terms of certain entropy kind of parameter, and this entropy parameter is predicting that certain phase is going to have certain entropy associated with it. But, and the interesting part is that all of these phases have been already fabricated experimentally, and the predictions which this particular approach is making is in line with the experimental result. So this aluminium 0.5 cobalt iron nickel basically exists. I mean, it occurs in a phase center cubic form. This exists in the body center cubic form, this exists in the phase center cubic form, and this exists in the phase center cubic form. So the predictions are right, at least at this stage. With this parameter, we can predict the crystal structure by using this approach. This is one thing, and this is happening at the room temperature. Can we do something more? What if I change the temperatures associated? Because in reality, we are talking about, remember, one of the important parameter is processing condition. In processing condition, what you basically do, you change the temperature. So can we introduce it over here? And this is what we did. I mean, we varied the only see the green and the red one. I think, yeah, green and red one, and leave the blue one for the time being. What we saw over here, that if we change the temperatures associated with these 4 cases, we don't see much change happening. That it never happens that at certain higher temperature, in at least in this context, there is a you see the phase. I mean, some kind of phase transition. We don't see that happening. But the interesting part was a cobalt, chromium, iron, nickel. Now, in this case, we saw that, okay, at the room temperature, we saw that it is a phase center cubic form is one, which is a stable one. But as you go to the higher temperatures, what we saw that the entropy, this entropy parameter associated with the VCC form is higher. And that was a very interesting part. And initially, when we were developing this model, we felt that this is not working. But someone, I mean, I'm sorry I have not put the reference, but hopefully I can add it later. That I'll share what they did. They super cooled this 4-component case from high temperature. So they're cooling it really fast. And if they cool it really fast, then the time which is required for diffusion of atom ultimately to take place and phase transition to take place, they don't get much time. And some of the body center, and they showed that some of the body center cubic phase gets formed and they get arrested. So this was again some simple, with a simple calculation, we were making some predictions, and it came in line with some experimental work which someone else was doing, that indeed the BCC is stable at high temperature, and since you are undercooling it at a very high speed, you could basically stabilize it, and it has got huge potential because now you can generate the component phase center cubic and body center cubic microstructure together, dual phase kind of microstructure, provided that you cool it really fast. Similarly, as you can see that in this 5-component case where we are introducing the titanium, we know that it forms the phase center cubic phase, but in addition to that, it also forms the intermetallics in as cast state. So people who are doing the experiments, they know that if you cool it, you cool it in the normal condition, then there are intermetallics. And if you see the numbers which we are getting over here, this has a lower, entropy entropy like parameter calculus approach, and you can see that the intermetallics do form in this case. So this is another important observation which we are getting out from our simple calculations, that you can use this kind of approach to basically predict the crystal structures in a multi-component alloys. Okay, so I think I should stop for some time. I've been speaking for how long? I think we will stop and then we'll meet in maybe 5 minutes.